Hello. Welcome on into another episode of the Whiskey Crusaders. I'm Will.
I'm Sarah.
I'm Matt.
Today, we're excited to be bringing you Pappy Van Winkle and their 23-year-old bourbon.
Be sure to hit the like and subscribe button and click that notification bell. Matt, why don't you give us some information about this, since this is the first Pappy we've had on the show?
Yes. Well, I have this cool sample from Brad LeClaire over at
Thank you, Brad.
Another great channel. I have obviously in the back there's the red velvet bag. It comes in a blue velvet for the 23. That's the 20, but unfortunately that sucker's empty. It was really good. We shared it with about 80 people, but this is the 23. So let's talk about Pappy Van Winkle. Is this the very best bourbon you've ever had? At least according to the secondary market, it supposedly is, because it sells for $3,000-$4,000 because they're insane. The actual MSRP on this is $300, which is the correct price. Maybe. We'll see here in a minute. All right, so Pappy Van Winkle was started by Julian P. Van Winkle Sr., and he was a traveling salesman at the time who ended up buying the distillery with his fellow salesman, Alex T. Farnsley, back before Prohibition, which right before Prohibition combined with another distillery called Stitzel, became Stitzel-Weller. So, lovely thing is, they were able to stay open during Prohibition at the Stitzel-Weller Distillery, and Julian became president during this time. They actually, after Prohibition ended, they opened up on Derby Day 1935 in Shively, Kentucky, the Stitzel-Weller Distillery. His son, Julian P. Van Winkle, took over in 1965 when he passed away, but is unfortunately forced to sell the business in 1972 to shareholders, which he then created the J.P. Van Winkle and Son Company, which still marketed bourbon and made decanters, which the biggest was bourbon decanters, especially with university logos on them, was the big business until the 80s. Okay. So, hey, whatever. But they were still bottling whiskey on the side, so still contract distilling and making their whiskey on the side, which is a good thing, obviously, for all of us.
Yeah.
So there actually is no Van Winkle Distillery, as you're saying. It's all contract distilled. So for a long time, like I said, it was Stitzel-Weller. But one of the things that was really interesting about that I found out is all of Pappy was called Old Boone, which is another defunct distillery they bought a bunch of stuff with, and was secretly sent to a judging competition and got 99 points out of 100. And the very first one was actually a rye mash bill before it was the wheated mash bill that was sent under secret to this event. And then when they submitted their second one, it was the wheated mash bill, which also got 99 points, which is pretty amazing. It's not until 1998 were they actually using Stitzel-Weller juice to fulfill the Pappy products. So it's very interesting they were doing that. So, and at 32 years old, when he took over, and he's like, well, crap, what am I going to do? So Stitzel-Weller ended their contract in 1981 with them. So, super. So they ended up buying they went to the Hoffman Distillery, which went out of business in 1983. They said, well, you want to still make bourbon or not? So they had to buy it. And this is in Lawrenceburg, Kentucky. Well, there's another distillery in Lawrenceburg called Wild Turkey. And a lot of times, apparently, this Hoffman place broke down all the time. It flooded twice, 3-4 feet of water in their basement. So all sorts of crap was ruined. Yeah, which sucks. They said, so thankfully, Wild Turkey was very helpful. It came to fix the distillery many times and the bottling line. Even Jimmy Russell would come by and fix things. That's a pretty good guy to have come by. He might know something about whiskey. Just a thing. Just a little bit. So, yeah, so there's a really interesting history with these guys. So then his son Preston helped take over in 2001. And in 2002, they moved over to this place called Buffalo Trace, where it's currently made. Now, of course, they bought Stitzel-Weller back in 1998. Buffalo Trace bought them out. And so they have a very similar recipe to Pappy. Theoretically the same, but not quite. The yeast strain's a little bit different. So that's what's currently being made on the market today is Buffalo Trace version of Pappy Van Winkle. So we'll see. I've never had some of the older ones. I'd love to try one to compare it to. Maybe someday we'll get lucky enough to, hey, if somebody wants to volunteer, so I'm glad to try it. So one of the things always been the myth is that they export tons of it. Apparently they don't. They only export 1% of Pappy Van Winkle's excellence. It's just super popular and super limited. They are making more. The good news is with Buffalo Trace building all those ridiculous amounts of warehouses, they are filling more Pappy. The problem is it takes 23 years to get there. You can't beat time, and it is what it is. So hopefully 20 years from now, there's a lot more Pappy and everything else to go around, God willing, with all their stuff at Buffalo Trace. So we'll see. So let's see what we think. We're going to tell you what it was about real quick. All right, so it is 95.6 proof. They take their regular 20-year, and do an extra 3 years in the heart of the warehouse. And it's the Buffalo Trace wheated mash bill, which no one knows the percentages because they won't tell us. That's what they are theoretically. So let's go from there. So let's see what we think. Is this a $3,000 whiskey? Even though like MSRP is $300, it sells for $3,000 on secondary.
I'll tell you on the first nose, no.
No, it's a hard no.
It's an oak bomb.
Yeah,
It's a lot of oak.
It's. I mean, we were talking in another episode about time in a barrel in Scotland versus bourbon time in a barrel, and it just turns into an oak bomb.
First fill versus second fill.
Yeah, exactly.
Big difference.
That new charred oak is such a big difference.
It's oak and it's cherry.
Yeah, vanilla, caramel, butterscotch,
Cinnamon.
tobacco, cloves.
I can actually taste the tree bark as I'm smelling.
Yeah, you really can.
Okay, so have you ever taken a can of Ready Whip and like when it's getting to the end, you get the air that comes out?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
It smells like that.
Oh,
I
it
get a little
really
bit of that.
does, doesn't it?
Huh?
Oh, it does. Oh, that's a good pickup. Yeah. It's also got like allspice, custard, creme brulee, a little bit of brown sugar and apple, and prunes, which is a really bizarre thing to pick up, but
Yeah.
definitely prunes, like for sure.
Yeah.
I'm not very familiar with prunes.
I feed them. You feed them to small children to help them go to the bathroom.
Yeah, we didn't have that issue.
It's always a plot.
Apple juice all the way.
Yeah, this is more dried cherries than it is the plump maraschino.
Yeah. I'm having a really hard time getting past that Ready Whip now that I found
Yeah.
it's like oak, cherry, Ready Whip.
See, and I can't. I'm having a really hard time getting past oak.
It is. It's
Just
a huge oak.
Past it. But you have to really like oak, really love this, at least on the nose. Like I know, like from the 20, from remembering what the 20 was like, it was a couple of years ago at this point. The 20's nose was, I think, significantly better than this one.
That
It
3
didn't have
years
the
could have
oak, at all.
that 3 years could have ruined it with the oak.
I think it did because I think the 3 years prior, no.
I mean, I don't have
So
I don't
these
have
are not-
comparison, so
These are bourbon, so this was not taken out of this barrel at any point in time. These were just in this same barrel for that same amount of time. Okay,
I wonder what that angel share was like.
seriously.
I know Brad said it was really good with Dr. Pepper.
Cheers, Brad.
I prefer my whiskey with Coke, but to each his own, Brad.
Mm-hmm.
Whoa,
Oak. Okay,
whoa! There's that tree.
there's like a whole tree in the glass. Like, didn't even take the bark out. The whole tree's in there.
Yep.
And then it's cinnamon.
Wow.
And I think that oak is what's giving me that Ready Whip
Mm-hmm.
taste,
Vibe.
that vibe. Something with the oak.
Where's the finish?
I was
There's none.
Mine vanished. Did yours vanish?
not pretty much.
There's no finish.
The oak, which is what the face was for. I was not expecting that massive amount of oak to show up.
It also reminds me of
On the nose, but it's like, wow.
so it reminds me, and I forget which other that we had. I don't know if it was a liqueur or if it was a whiskey or an older whiskey. It reminds me of that incense they use in church.
Yeah, that was something recently. I don't remember what the
It
one
was
that
very
was.
recent.
Oh, I think it was one of the liqueurs.
It's oak and it's char.
It really is oak and char. Yeah.
Slight
Where'd you
campfirey.
A little bit of the cherry
Oh.
shows up in there.
Tiny bit of
Yeah.
the cherry, some cinnamon, a little bit of vanilla, but again with the Ready Whip, I think those kind of go a little hand in hand.
Yeah.
And then again, gone.
Gone. There's no
Like,
finish.
I'm
No.
left with the film on my tongue.
It's the
Yeah.
char.
It's like licking char. Yeah, it really is. It's really like, and it sucks all of the moisture out of your mouth. It's just super drying.
Yeah.
And there is vanilla and caramel and some butterscotch and custard, cinnamon,
I'm,
little creme
disappointed.
brulee,
I'm really disappointed in the film.
cherries.
Finish.
There's a lot. that
Yeah,
happens.
the finish blows.
I'm not a huge fan of all of the oak, but if somebody was a big fan of an oak dominated whiskey, this would be worth the $300 all day long.
Yeah, absolutely.
The finish is very disappointing. The
It's
finish
just falls off.
Yeah.
and then it leaves you with an algae-like sensation on your tongue. Not a flavor of algae, but that
The film.
filminess of like an algae sitting on the top of my tongue right now. I'm taking some bubble water.
Yeah, it also has like red apples and a little bit of walnut. But yeah, that drying oak, I just can't really get over that.
Yeah, it's too overpowering for me personally with the oak. I would not pay even the $300 that it should be MSRP
No.
for this.
Yeah.
You know,
Oh no, if you paid $3,000, you must be.
if you paid $3,000 for this, then you must just be buying it for the name
Yeah.
and to
Like,
be
there's no-
popular because you have a Pappy on your hands.
Yeah. I'm
Don't
like,
do that.
no. It's a waste
Don't
of
do
money.
it. It's not worth it, and you're pushing the numbers to get higher and higher for something that's not worth the $300 it should be. Personally,
No, not at all. Yeah, and maybe the original stuff was, but this is not.
I can understand them charging $300 for a 23-year-old
Yeah,
bourbon.
absolutely.
I can get that part, but this particular one,
Mm-mm.
I
Is not for me.
personally, that's why I say personally, I wouldn't pay $300 for this. It's an oak bomb.
Yeah.
I just, there's something to be said about a bourbon that is in a cask for that long. You're taking a chance.
Yeah.
And if you really like oak, yay, good. This is for you. Go for those older ones because they tend to lean that way. But
Mhm.
but age
Yeah.
is everything, guys. Okay?
No, it's not. Whereas
Just
Yeah,
because it has
but
a big number on it doesn't mean it's going to be super special and all that good.
Years really do it for it.
Right. And along those lines, you know, dollar signs aren't everything either. Just because it costs a lot doesn't mean it's going to be better.
Nope.
Just saying. But I mean, it's if somebody were to buy me a pour of this and hand it to me, I would drink it and be okay. But I would not reach for the bottle in my own house.
No.
Would you
Because I
enjoy
wouldn't
it?
put the bottle in my own house. I would enjoy it to an extent because once you get past that oak, there is other things going on. But for me, the oak is so overpowering. I have a hard time getting past it, and that's not as enjoyable to me as, you know, getting
Many other whiskeys.
many other whiskeys.
Yes. So the conclusion is this is not the best bourbon in the world.
It's not, unless you really like oak. Unless you want to run outside. If you want to run outside and lick your tree, you'd save some money.
Like
There you go.
I'm looking behind me, and I could find a lot of bourbons really fast that I would rather grab and drink than this.
Agreed.
Couple put out by the same friggin' distillery.
Yeah,
Mhm.
this one right here came out this year. I don't know if you can tell what it is. I'm not going to say it out loud.
Mm-hmm.
But, you know,
Same distillery.
same
Better
distillery.
juice.
and like what, a fifth of the MSRP?
Yeah.
Mhm.
So, you know, I
So
don't know.
just keep that in mind when people are talking the hype about Pappy and whatnot. Yeah, it's good to experience it. It's great to experience it, but it doesn't necessarily mean you should be searching for that bottle and forking over, you know, a couple months mortgage.
And if you are
for-
going to do that, please know that you're going to get an oak bomb.
Mm-hmm.
100%.
Oak, and more oak.
Or you could go like a tree. Just saying.
Bark and
And if you really want to get the full experience, lick the wood that's left over after the campfire next day, because then you get the char and the oak.
Yeah. I'm with Brad's plan. Definitely this is good with Coke.
yeah.
Dr. Pepper, your beverage of choice.
Yeah.
I just think that would make it actually unfortunately better because the sweetness might take away some of the oak.
You know, with that
You might
ready,
not be wrong.
with that ready whip thing going on for me, I think I might feel more inclined to
Ready
throw
Whip.
in some root beer.
Mm,
There you go.
just seltzer water.
No, the creaminess.
Yeah.
All right.
All right.
There you
Well,
go.
Thank you, Brad.
Thank you, Brad.
Appreciate it.
Glad I got to try this.
Definitely
We appreciate
glad
it.
got to try this. Be sure to hit that like and subscribe button, and don't forget to hit the notification bell. And until next time,
Keep on crusading for better whiskey in your glass.
cheers. Whew.
Pappy Van Winkle says, "We make fine bourbon at a profit if we can, and a loss if we must, but always fine bourbon." It's definitely one of the best quotes I've ever heard in whiskey, for sure.
Like it.
It's oak, and more oak. It's a very oaky whiskey. I haven't tasted it yet, but I can feel the oak across my mouth.
Mm-hmm.
Like just off the nasal.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, we'll edit that part out.
In this episode of the Whiskey Crusaders,
Matt goes to jail. Yay!